A video circulating online shows a man in the UK describing himself as an Islamist and making highly alarming statements about how Muslims should behave in non-Muslim countries. In the clip, he confidently claims that the Quran contains no verse instructing Muslims to obey the laws of the land they live in. He uses this argument to push a narrative that openly rejects the authority of British law, suggesting instead that his followers should prioritize his interpretation of Islamic doctrine above the legal framework of the country. We'll dive into this story in today's video, but before we get started, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Right now, only 12% of viewers are subscribed, so join the community and help us grow. The situation becomes even more troubling when he goes further, encouraging his audience to wage jihad in response to what he portrays as injustice or oppression. Regardless of how he defines the term, the way he delivers the message is reckless and inflammatory. It presents a distorted interpretation designed to provoke anger, alienation, and confrontation rather than peaceful coexistence. This kind of rhetoric is extremely dangerous. When someone with a public platform encourages defiance of national law while invoking the language of jihad, it creates a climate of fear and suspicion that harms everyone. In short, the message shared in this video is not only misguided, it is dangerous. It encourages hostility where there should be cooperation, and it spreads extremism under the false banner of faith. Have a watch.
They don't respect all faiths. We don't respect the kufr and the shirk and the kuffar and their disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why we give them dawah. That's why we implement the jizya. That's why we do jihad fi sabilillah. I'm sure you heard this many times. They'll say, brother, we are living in the UK. You need to respect the law of the land. He said that, look, the Quran says so. The Quran says, obey the law of the land. We're still waiting for that verse where it says that. It don't exist. It don't exist, my dear Muslims.
The disbelievers who are a'da, the enemy is disbelievers.
In the end, the message delivered in this video is deeply dangerous. By claiming that Muslims have no obligation to obey the laws of the country they live in, and then urging his followers to wage jihad, the speaker promotes a radical, confrontational mindset that has no place in a stable society. In other news, foreign criminals are costing the taxpayers a record £643 million a year. A staggering new study has revealed the fees for prosecuting and imprisoning these individuals have spiraled by 50% since 2019, according to research from the Onward think tank. Foreign offender numbers in British jails have risen from 9,089 to 10,321 over the same time frame. According to Onward's figures, the yearly costs are equivalent to the salaries of 15,000 new police officers or 20,000 nurses. The think tank suggests these daunting impositions on the public purse are driven by longer sentences and a surge in the number of prisoners held on remand. Sir Simon Clarke, Onward's director and a former cabinet minister, said costs were spiraling out of control. This report exposes the true scale of the burden on taxpayers' money that could instead be spent on frontline public services. Labour must explain why these costs have soared and what it will do to bring them down, he declared. The comprehensive analysis comes as Britain grapples with severe prison overcrowding, including parlous management of release mechanisms and stretched public services. Onward's proposals include immediate deportation for minor offenders before conviction, stricter interpretation of European human rights legislation, and broader implementation of removal schemes. Such measures could potentially release 10,000 prison spaces, representing 12% of the current jail population, and bringing capacity down to 86%. Ellie Craven, the report's author, stressed. Britain's prisons are dangerously full and financially unsustainable. For years, the system has been running on the edge. With early releases now becoming routine, removing foreign national offenders is one of the few realistic ways to relieve pressure pressure and restore stability, she told The Telegraph. The think tank advocates fundamental changes to deportation procedures, including allowing courts to remove lower-level foreign offenders before their trials conclude. This diversion scheme would target those facing sentences of less than 2 years. Proposals extend to rewriting how British courts apply the European Convention on Human Rights, specifically curtailing offenders' abilities to challenge their removal. The report backs government plans enabling deportation immediately after sentencing, advancing beyond current rules that permit removal after 30% of sentences are served. Expanding the Deport Now, Appeal Later program forms another key recommendation. This scheme would encompass nations contributing the most foreign prisoners, including Albania, Poland, Romania, Lithuania, Portugal, Jamaica, Pakistan, and Somalia. Onward's report went on to show how human rights legislation has continued to hamper removal efforts. Between April 2008 and June 2021, there were 21,521 appeals against deportations, with 6,042 proving successful. Over a third of these successful appeals, approximately 2,400 cases, relied on human rights arguments. Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights, protecting family life rights, accounted for nearly 3/4 of successful human rights appeals. Onward proposes reinterpreting the removal threshold from proving unduly harsh impact on families to demonstrating irreversible harm. Motorists are being warned of criminals targeting lorry drivers to smuggle people into the country, which could see road users arrested. The National Crime Agency has issued an urgent warning to motorists that organized gangs are actively recruiting lorry drivers to smuggle migrants. It reported a spike in arrests in Kent, where drivers were detained while attempting to board trains or ferries to France with people illegally in their vehicles. The NCA stated that people smugglers were targeting drivers with thousands of pounds to transport people across the border. Among legitimate cargo drivers have previously been caught assisting criminal organizations by loading people into their trucks. Other occasions have seen drivers of heavy goods vehicles leave their vehicles unlocked in specific locations and turning a blind eye to migrants getting in. Craig Turner, Deputy Director of Investigations at the NCA, said, "We know these crime gangs are actively trying to recruit drivers to work for them, promising them a supposedly low-risk way of making extra money. In fact, it is anything but. We have a number of operations investigating this type of criminality, and recent arrests have demonstrated that the chances of getting caught are high." He noted that drivers who are caught helping criminal organizations could be slapped with a life-changing prison sentence. Mr. Turner called on drivers in the haulage sector to immediately report any suspicious activity to the police or Crime Stoppers. The NCA has arrested 9 lorry drivers in Kent for people smuggling offences between July and October, highlighting the extent of the problem. It highlighted the case of Iona Monescu, 49, from Romania, who was sentenced to 3 years in prison after 44 Bangladeshi and Pakistani people were found in the back of his trailer. Similarly, 7 members of a people smuggling network were jailed for between 7 and 13 years each for arranging crossings between the UK and France. The case, which was finalized in mid-July, also saw 5 HGV drivers jailed for their roles in the operation. Mr. Turner continued, saying, "The criminal networks offering services to move people out of the UK illegally are often using the same drivers and methods to bring people in, which makes it more important that we take action against them. For them, this is a business, and like any other haulier, they don't want to run empty while returning to the continent." The NCA first launched a campaign targeting the haulage industry in 2023 alongside the Border Force and Crime Stoppers. It currently has 100 open investigations into groups or individuals involved in the top tier of this form of criminality. Mr. Turner clarified that the NCA was determined to target, disrupt, and dismantle criminal organizations attempting to smuggle migrants into the country. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you have not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.